Growing up, did you ever want to be the Sherlock Holmes, or were you inspired by TV shows like Sherlock and Monk and Psych and so on and so forth? Well, today I'm going to share with you the secrets to becoming like that. I know, trust me. So let's get into it. So recently I've been rewatching Monk because it's now on Netflix. I used to watch it way back when on DSTV, randomly ordered episodes, never in the right order. But anyway, I'm watching Monk. And something that I've noticed, which is also, I haven't watched the Sherlock movies in a while. Neither have I watched series in a while, but I guess the general idea is the same for most of these savant investigator type shows. And the one thing that I've seen from or like Hercule Poirot, the one that I'm so sorry, the murder on the Orient Express guy, that guy, Agatha Christie's guy. But anyway, the one thing that I've noticed, first of all, they are keenly observant. Like, they notice things that other people don't notice. They're able to see things that other people overlook. They pay attention. Like, this is the real attention to detail. When you write attention to detail in your CV, if you're not at this level, then you're not really paying attention to detail. So that is the first thing. They're able to pay a lot of attention to their environment. They notice things. They're very watchful and observant. One. The second thing is that they often know a lot of things. They're very widely read. They may be also even they may even also have experience, like practical hands-on experience with certain things. Like, they may also be into music, may know how to play. They are usually into some kind of artistic endeavor. Otherwise, they're really hands-on and practical with like knowledge about certain things like fishing or boating and knowing how to tie different kinds of knots, or they may have been part of some kind of organization or association before where they were able to learn these things. So they have a wide, almost encyclopedic knowledge that they have about a lot of things. There are some things that may seem really random and are always conveniently handy for the case that they're working on, which makes sense because they work of fiction. So just take everything I'm saying with a realizing that I'm talking about works of fiction. But yeah, they are widely read. They know about a lot of topics, from music to history to art to kinds of leather and wood and all kinds of things. And the third thing kind of links both things together, but also not really. They're able to make inferences from their observations. So when you and I'm going to use Monk because that's what is fresh in my mind. When you're watching an episode of Monk, when he gets into a room or whatever, is looking at somebody, he notices things about them or about the room they're in, and he's able to make inferences by combining the observations that he has made together, right? So recent episode I watched where he was able to identify that a flower pot had been moved to put the camera behind it because the flowers were facing away from the sun, which usually will not happen. They will usually face in the direction of the sun, or the plants were facing direction away from the sun, but they should be facing the sun. So he knew it had been turned. And then he noticed that the water, the still where the plant was wet, right? And then the camera wasn't wet. And so he realized that the camera had just been placed there after the watering. So it's things like that. Like, you observe something and then you make an inference from multiple observations of what is the likely thing that could have happened here, or that this person is involved in, blah blah blah. Like, there was one where somebody had delivered letter bombs to people, and they had tied the knot on the letter in a very specific way. And the brother of the first person who died, one of the brothers, was the primary suspect, right? But Monk noticed that he had a skateboard or something tied to the back of his truck, but the knot was not well done. So he's like, it can't be this person, because the person who sent the letter bomb ties knots in a very specific way that only people who are like really into that will tie the knot, while this guy just did a very random, very badly done knot on his truck, right? So inferences like that, observing things and making inferences, and being knowing a lot of things. So this example of knots, it tells you that, oh, he knows about different kinds of knots, and people who might be interested in like knowing might have the skills of like different kinds of knots. He knows, he observed the way the knot was tied on the letter and the way the knot was tied on the truck, and he made that connection or lack of connection between the two. And the last thing, which is actually probably the most important thing, is luck. There's a huge element of luck in many of these things, because it's the right, like there has to be an alignment of things, right, where the information, the knowledge that you have applies to the thing you've observed and all of those things. And sometimes they may not even already have that knowledge. Something happens that leads them to some insights where they are able to see something that then helps them solve the case. So a recent episode of Monk that I watched, where they were trying to figure out how there's this investigator guy that seemed to know exactly everything that was going on, and Monk was like, this is too weird, like there's no way he should know all these things. And they couldn't figure out how he already knew the details of the case beforehand. And then his assistant was like, she wasn't going to drive him somewhere, and so he was like, oh, he's going to just rent a car and go. And so he called a car rental service, and they were talking while he was on hold. You know how you're on hold and you're just talking to someone, whatever. And then the person, you know how they say, oh, this call is being monitored for quality assurance purposes, blah blah. The quality assurance person then like spoke and said, oh, you can actually rent the car and pass through these other routes, you don't have to pass through the bridge or something, like. And then he was like, and then they realized that, oh, when you're on hold, there's somebody on the line that can actually still hear you. And that's how he figured out that, oh, because then he made connection to something else he had already seen prior about the investigator's mother. So yeah, he made the link to something he had seen prior about the investigator's mother, and he was able to make that link that, oh, she's a QA officer at that place, and so she overheard the conversation of the people who committed the crime while they were on hold waiting for their plane tickets. So, and even in that same episode, he was able to figure out kind of where the mom had been kept hostage, because one of the people who committed the crime, he had kidnapped her basically so that they would drop the case, the investigator will stop investigating it or get him the jury or whatever. But when they got to where she was being held hostage, they were trying to figure out where she, and then they heard the criminal guy had said, oh, your mother has to like 8:20 p.m. And so they're like, why 8:20 p.m.? Why not 8 o'clock? Why not 8:30? Like, this is so random. 8:20 is such a random time. And they were looking around, and they just saw a notice board that like, oh, high tide is at 8:20. Again, randomly stumbling on relevant information. Look, if they hadn't seen that piece of information, they wouldn't have been able to figure out that she was in some underwater thing tied to something where she would have been killed by the high tide or whatever. But yeah, that's the point. The point is that they are very observant. They notice things that most other people would not notice. They know a lot of things about a lot of things. That's the second thing. The third thing is that they make inferences and connections between the things that they observe that other people usually will not. And the fourth thing is a huge dose of luck and right timing and everything just aligning at the right time, and so on and so forth. Thank you for listening to my guide on how to become the next Sherlock Holmes. Let me know if you implement the tips and if they work out for you. Bye. That's it for today. There's still over 100 episodes to go. I still need questions. I still need suggestions of who to talk to. I still need people who want to come on to talk about something to fill the form. So please do that. Thank you very much. And yeah, do like, share, subscribe if you found it interesting, insightful, and all the nice things. Bye.